someone whose voice has fundamentally shifted millions of people's understanding of the emotional landscape. Kati is a licensed therapist, a best-selling author, and a digital educator, and one of the most trusted mental health figures that you can find on the internet. Long before mental health content became a trend, Kati was leading the movement, translating complex clinical concepts into languages people could actually use. She is the go-to voice for modern mental health issues like burnout, anxiety, boundaries, trauma, family dynamics. And yes, she is the reason eldest daughter syndrome went viral. And entered into a cultural conversation. Even Taylor Swift has a song titled Eldest Daughter. And when the internet needs clarity and compassion, it's Kati that tends to land the lead. From her groundbreaking debut, Are You Okay?, to traumatize her previous book, this new book, Why Do I Keep Doing This? She has built a career anchored in honesty, humor, and deep commitment to helping people feel less alone. I've had the privilege of standing beside Kati since the very beginning of your career and watching her continually push the conversation forward and meet people exactly where they are. She doesn't just talk about mental health, she embodies it. Please join me in welcoming my dear friend Kati, and you are just amazing, Kati Morton.
And this is Harriet Duncan. She is my publicist and good friend. I've been working with her. She took on Are You Okay?, for any of you who've been around that long, a month before launch and did not get scared and jumped right in with me. She has her own group, a HCD group. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not reading from anything. But she's been my publicist for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to know you.
No.
Thanks for She doesn't like to do these things. Also, I asked her to interview me and she does not like to. So thank you for doing it.
Yes, of course. Anything for you.
And thank you all for being here and for braving LA traffic.
So we're going to get right into it. Mm-hmm. So why did you decide to write this book now compared to your other books? It's a little bit different.
Yeah, and every time I write a book, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. It's like, I don't have children, but it's the closest thing I think to like birthing something into the world. This was actually a call with Linnea, my manager back there who's hiding. I was on the phone with her and my literary agent, JL, and we were talking about, initially it was going to be an eating disorder book. You guys know that's like my specialty, that's my shtick. And I was like, it's time. I've written 2 others. Let's do it. We're going to talk about eating disorders. And we got to talking essentially a roundabout way about like, why do we do this? And we like, I pay attention to that. And yeah, I notice when other people do this and they say that and people comment on bodies and yeah. And it was just ladies like having a conversation about like, essentially like, why the fuck do we do this? And this is so frustrating. Oh my God. And just, yeah. And then I remember JL, my literary agent, is like, who's going to buy that book though? I'm like, how do we market it? And I don't think like that. I'm like, it just needs to exist. So we'll figure it out. And she was like, I think what we're talking about is the book. I don't think it's just about food. I think it's about control because that's what we're talking about. And I was like, yeah. And so that's how the book came to be. And initially, because I'm not a good marketer, I wanted to call it Why Do I Keep Doing This? And Other Thoughts I Have at 2 a.m. But JL's like, the subtitle needs to tell people what they're getting. And so then it was Unlearn the Habits Keeping You Stuck and Unhappy. That's how it came to be.
And something about this book that's very different from the first 2 is you actually get vulnerable with your audience and you share personal stories throughout the book. Was that challenging to be vulnerable in that way while writing? And what story felt the hardest or the most important to include in this book?
I mean, yeah, it's all, you guys know I'm a crier, so it might happen. But I think being vulnerable is just, I feel like what we need now. I like sick of the bullshit. You don't need to pretend everything's okay. You don't need to pretend that I'm feeling great. Already tearing up. Story of my life. But I think the book just needed to feel like me. It needed to be something that I created, that I put out. And so I'm really proud of it because it's like my process. It's like, it's not perfect. It's not, I know exactly how to fix this or do this. It's more like, here's what I know. Here's what I've been taught. Here's what I still fuck up. And here's what I'm learning. And like how we can all grow. And so it's probably like, not to play favorites because it's like my children. This is my favorite because it is me. It's honest. It's like you're walking through my life. Like it starts off by talking about how I was raised and the way that my family was and like not being, I didn't even think I'd cry today, Jesus Christ. I didn't think like I didn't know how to have conflict and make up. Like my family never argued. So people would be like, oh, that's so good. No, because then I didn't know how to repair. And like as a therapist, I learned how important the repair piece is. And so I talk about that. And like I think this book is so much more important to me because it's honest, because it's real. It's not like all do XYZ 1, 2, 3. Like I talked about this in my video a couple months ago about like how I felt like I wasn't being honest with you guys. Like I wasn't putting out content that felt real because it was like 5 signs of like bleh, like I can't do 5. Like that's not how life is. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm fixed, right? We all know that. We wish that we could be fixed like that, but that's just not the truth. And so I think this book feels just so much more important to me because it's like I don't have it all figured out either. But I can tell you what I do know is that things get better and there are things we can do and there are ways that we can show up for each other and be honest about where we're at. And that's what makes it so much better, I think. It's like it's through the steps in the lens of control. I'm showing you like all the ways that I still know better and don't do better. But how I can make a better choice. I always say like future Katie, I'm making a better choice for her so that like, I don't want to, this is a silly example, but like, I don't want to fold the laundry, but future Katie be really grateful that that shit's done because I want to do it tomorrow. And so I like do that little extra bit, and I think that this book is really like a personification of that. It's like walking you through the things that I've learned in therapy off and on since I was 15. It's been like a very expensive process. But also worthwhile, right? And then just being real about like how our past shapes us, but how we can shape our future. And I think that, that's the one thing I want everybody to leave. If you read this book, like I want you to leave with that feeling that like, oh, I can make it better. It's not perfect. Like there's a whole chapter on perfectionism because like that's not, I try to do that. And I think that, just being more honest is really what this book is. And that's why it's like, I'm excited for you guys to get it. So yay. Sorry. You guys know I'm a crier. This isn't new information.
One thing that Jonathan Van Ness said that you make therapy and mental health topics feel so relatable to your audience to where they connect with you because you are vulnerable. Do you think that it's important to kind of break that stereotype for therapists to, have it all together and, because you're letting your readers come in and so they don't feel as alone. Was that important for you with this book?
Yes, because I think I'm the only therapist that can do it. And I don't mean that to be like other therapists can't, but like because I let go of my private practice, which was a hard decision, but it allows me to let people see the side that you technically can't show if you're still seeing patients. Because then if people knew all the stuff they know about me now, then if they saw me, they'd have this like preconceived notion about me and what I'm about. And then that would like sully therapy for them. And so I think my goal, or I feel like my new calling as like a creator, is like to show people like therapists are people too. And like we know and don't know a lot of things. And we're not always like the best at stuff. We have our own ish. That's probably why we were drawn to psychology in the first place, right? It's like it's interesting and we're human. And so I think being able to show that human side really allows people hopefully to not feel like therapists are talking down to them, because we don't always, like I always say, like I know better, I don't do better. Like knowing is only half of the battle, and that doesn't make me any better than anybody going through it. So I want like this book, and also just my like any work I create in general, to help people feel like we're in it together. Like this is all our first rodeos, just figuring it out. And I'll tell you what I know and then try to apply, at least like all the time I spend journaling, as we know, I love that, what I've learned. And hopefully that, because I always feel like I learn from other people and I learn better from stories than I do from someone talking to me. And so my goal is to help, like, I think this hopefully will feel like I'm not talking at you. You're like with me, like come along on this journey, Did that even answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It goes in the theme. Why did you feel that you needed to write this book the way that you wrote it at this stage now in your career? And what message do you hope that the readers take away from it?
I think we need it now. I feel like we're really like isolated. People are lonely. No one's like, I think COVID, like, I mean, obviously we know it like messed us up and nobody wants to talk about it because it did mess us up. I think like we need more realness. We need more human connection. We need like in-person events. Like, I don't know about you, but I remember when I go to this health advocates conference every year, and it was the first event I'd gone to like post-COVID. And I've never been more excited or more like recharged after going to an event and like hugging people and seeing people and hearing from people. And I feel like we need more reality. We need more realness. I think in general, even this is like the YouTube online creator in me. I'm like, notice how Instagram used to be like perfect, like coiffed, like everything's amazing. The photos are so fixed that you're like, I don't have that life. And why is that person's life so perfect? And they're always on vacation. Oh, and now it's like, we want TikTok. We want someone with like a fan going in the background. They're poorly lit. And they're like, you're like seeing up their nostrils. Like, we want the weird shit now. We want like the authentic, like, I'm out of the shower and my hair is a mess and I'm trying to tell you about this. And so I think the realness is more important now than ever. And the connectivity is more important now than ever. And so I think it just is, it's why it's here. It's like, it's more real than I've ever been. And I think that's what we need. And it's what I needed.
That's amazing. So in the book, you talk about perfectionism, people pleasing, emotional suppression,
all the good stuff.
Yeah. And they all have control kind of as a universal theme. Why do you think people struggle so much with the issue of control that feeds back into these issues?
I mean, for many reasons, if we're honest with ourselves, I think because we're scared, right? Like, there's so much in life that's unpredictable and things that we technically can't control. So when things feel out of control, we try to take control of something else, because then we're like, well, that's a shit show, but I can at least do this, right? And I mean, I do it too. And that's why like the chapters are so, like the book, not that it wrote itself, because trust me, I wish it did not. But like the chapters wrote themselves. Like once I started with, I think the first chapter is like the blueprint, but then I think is it people pleasing? But then they just feed off of one another, one to the next. And I think, perfectionism, then people pleasing. I think in general, because so much in our life is out of our control, taking back control in any way we can always feels safer. It feels better. And we're always seeking that soothing, right? Like, I think all of us, you seek to be soothed. That's why I like doom scroll, which sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it's like, I don't want to think about this. I'd rather focus on this. And so I think that control is ever present, even though the only thing we can control is ourselves. And that like precarious relationship is really fascinating to me as a therapist and as a human trying to do better tomorrow. And so I think I don't know, I guess I just realized how much control was showing up for me, and I figured I couldn't be the only one.
And is there a behavior pattern that you see people blame themselves for, but it's actually a coping mechanism?
All of them. So don't worry. We're all messing up. It's okay. I think in general, a lot of times we want to shame ourselves for like what you do, whether it's shopping, drinking, smoking, doom scrolling, I don't know, having sex with inappropriate people. I'm trying to think of all the things people have told me over the years.
Binge watching a show in a day.
Yes. Not getting out of bed rotting. We can do all these things. And we judge ourselves for it, but it's really just our best way of coping. I think the big shift, I guess one of the key takeaways I hope that you get from this book is that instead of shaming yourself for doing something, be curious about what it's helping you feel better about. I don't know if that, like, you get what I'm saying. It's like, sometimes we want to say like, I just wish I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm not going to lie. I play chess on my phone. I'm not even good at it, by the way. I play chess on my phone all the time. And I'm like, I don't even like that I do this. Why am I even on my phone? Ugh, I want to like chuck it across the room. I'm like, I'm wasting all this time when I want to connect with people, but I'm doing it because something else is going on. Am I not sleeping well? Am I frustrated about this? Can I not communicate to so-and-so that hurt my feelings? That's usually, I don't like to say people hurt me. That's hard. But stuff like that, like communicating wants and needs. And I think in general, instead of doubling down on the bad thing, be like, why are you, we have to be like, what is it that's actually going on? Like, why am I doing this? What's making me get maxed out right now? And that curiosity, I think, opens, instead of closing a door or like shaming ourselves more, it opens a door for growth. It allows us to be like, it could get better, or this might make, I can do something now that actually makes me feel better versus, it's just like piling on the shame or guilt.
Do you think the cost of like you talk about in the book, the cost of belonging. What does that mean to you when writing this book, and how do you see it show up in yourself and your community?
This is a big one. This is people pleasing mostly. Perfectionism too, but I think a lot of times I'll just speak for myself. A lot of times I put other people's needs first because I'm like, well, if they're happy, then I can feel okay, right? Because I don't like conflict. I don't like discomfort. Ugh. And so by doing that, by putting someone else's needs first, then that means that my needs aren't as important. And then I start to like abandon what I need or what I want. And what that means is then I can't show up authentically for myself or for other people. And sometimes we can even lose touch with who we are. And I feel like that's happened, I mean, off and on through my life. I feel like my 20s, there's just a time to like be crazy and like mess up a lot. Let's just be honest. 20s are like, and I feel like when I was really young, I thought like, oh, if they're happy, then I can be happy. And I found myself in a relationship. I talk a lot about different relationships, friendships, romantic, otherwise, where like I would put somebody else's needs first. And then I even had this boyfriend, this is like spoilers of the book, where like I realized he didn't even know me. And I was like, because I tried to like express a want. He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, and this was also unhealthy coping skills. I was like, and we break up. There's no communication. Bye-bye. See you never. And that was like my pattern because I never let anybody see me because I wasn't willing to be honest, I guess, and potentially be hurt or potentially be abandoned or insert fears that I had about myself and who I am. And so I think in a lot of situations in my life, I would abandon myself to like help somebody else feel better. And that never ended up making me feel good or happy. And so I talk about all the patterns of that and like how that shows up in my life. And then with people, so many of you shared your stories. Thank you so much. And thank you for signing those releases that my publisher makes you do so we don't get sued. That's also annoying. But, you know, I think in general, we abandon ourselves first, unfortunately, especially if we were taught that growing up. I think other kids who didn't grow up in such certain situations, and it doesn't even mean it was abuse that we grew up in. I think for a lot of us, and myself included, my parents weren't like abusive, any stretch of the imagination, but there were certain like behaviors I watched my grandma do or my mom do, where like women take care of everybody else first. And like, that's lovely. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, but then sometimes that means that we, you know, get the back seat, you get the whatever's left over. And so I think that's like, there's so many ways we can abandon ourselves. And I think only in the last like 5 years, 6 years of my life have I felt better, like saying what I want. This is who I am. And asking for it versus being like, oh no, it's okay. You know, it's just, and it's hard. It's a little uncomfortable.
How to have that power that you would have to help other people, but for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Because we'll so easily stand up and help someone else. But then how do you stand up and help yourself?
And you kind of touched on this a little bit. The difference between self-protection and self-sabotage. Like they're very similar, but how can you explain the difference to people so that when they're going through it, it's not self-sabotage, but it's actually like self-protection? Like, how can you define that when you're in that mode of like, as you said, with that boyfriend, you just wanted to run away, like, you know, self-sabotage, or is that self-protection? Like they're so close together.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of overlap. Like I think in general, they come from, I don't know if I want to say different spaces, but just hear me out. So I think self-sabotage is like, I don't deserve. I think it comes from a place of deserving or earning. And I think self-protection comes from a place of fear and pain of harm. So even though they can look a lot alike, right? Like if I'm self-sabotaging myself, it's like I don't know. I can like tell, like I get the example I give in my book. It's just because this is front of mind. My brother goes, he had to sign a release also, which just makes me laugh. My brother goes to sell his comic books when I'm little, and he needs the money because my brother's still a comic book nerd, and he wants to like buy all these certain, like, I don't even know. I'm not a comic book nerd, so I don't know all the terms, but he wants these specific editions, and he goes to sell some of his like lesser than books because he needs the money because he didn't do enough chores. And he needs the money to buy this bigger book. Well, while the lady's looking through his books, he's like pointing out all the problems. He's like, well, this one has like this scratch on the front, and this one has bent edges. And my mom's like, shut up. You're not going to get the money. Don't mess up your thing. Tell them it's perfect. Let them figure out all the problems. And that's self-sabotage. It's like almost like I don't deserve to get full money for this. So I'm going to like essentially already show you that I don't. And then I think self-protection is more of the like what I call puffer fishing. You guys know, like it's like that, like, ooh, you could really hurt me now. You could leave me. You could like, I could feel abandoned. I could feel really seen and then not understood. Oh, that would be too hard for me. Spines out, like protect. And so it's like, ooh, I'm going to shoot my spines out. And so there are different ways of kind of doing the same thing, but I feel like their origin is a little bit different. It's it's like a knot of hair. It's very tricky. But
It's
yeah.
like trying to untangle a necklace.
Yes, exactly. Yes. That's it. Anybody who's ever traveled. Yes. With a necklace.
So obviously, you've written the book. I've read the book. What chapter do you think that most people are going to be reading and be like, oh my God, she is calling me out directly. Did she have me in this? Like, you know what I mean? Like where you're sitting reading it going, oh, this is definitely, I feel attacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What chapter to you do you think most people are going to be? Oh,
I mean, the whole thing, but don't worry. It's through the lens of me. So I'm doing it already. I think chapter 6, what's it called? Disconnection and dissociation or zoning out. I forget what I ended up calling it. Hold on. Numbing out and disconnecting. I was getting there. Because I think what I realized in like even my own work, but also in like journaling and just self-reflecting, like all of the ways that I try to numb out, like in the book I share this, but like for those of you who follow me, I did the Artist's Way workbook. Can't recommend it enough. Love it. And every time I would sit down to do my morning pages, which is obviously every day, it feels like the biggest chore of your life, but you get through it. I would reach for my phone, and it got so like, it was such a habit that I didn't even bring my phone in my office with me. Cause I was like, that's going to detract. Like, I'm going to get on Instagram. I'm going to forget what I was even here for. I'm going to scroll. I'm like, what? And so I realized so quickly how fast I was like trying to disconnect. Cause it was as soon as something got a little uncomfortable, I'd be like, and so I think you might feel called out in chapter 6, but that gives you time to warm up. You have 5 chapters before.
Do you think, what the internet coins is doom scrolling? Do you think that is basically a numbing out technique?
Yeah, I think it's coping. I don't think it's because nobody wants to take in all that information. It's overwhelming. I don't think we're meant to be honest. I think that's kind of the problem with like tech and like humans, is that I don't think we're meant to do that, to take in this much information. It feels like overwhelming. Even if it's good information, even though like most of my TikTok is just like, I watch farrers that like cut the hooves of milk cows, and I watch like Nate the Hoof Guy. Who doesn't love Nate the Hoof Guy? It's like soft stuff, but I think we're just spending too much time not like seeing you, saying hi and seeing you. And I think that is the way we numb out a lot.
And realistically, for someone who you're like, okay, they read your book, they're like, okay, I definitely have control issues. What realistically is a good first step for them to let go of that control? Because you can't just expect someone or, anyone to just light a switch and then their control issues are gone. What is like the first step that they can take?
I mean, I think in general, because it's a process, right? It's never going to be perfect, and we're not going to be able to let go of control. Trust me, if I could, I would have told you. But sorry, there's no solid answer. Spoilers. I think it's just realizing how it shows up and why it shows up. Because I think sometimes, for me at least, it's like, people always use the word triggered too much, like, oh, I'm triggered, oh, I'm so wounded. No, but like there are triggers, and it is important for us to realize, like, when am I agitated and I don't know why? Why did this person, like, I want to punch them in the throat. I can't, because that's not appropriate. But like, why did I go to that? Or why did I want to run away? And I think in general, just being aware of how control shows up for you. Because one chapter you might feel like, oh my God. And then another chapter you might be like, that's not so much me. I think realizing how it shows up has been helpful for me in understanding it, and then how I untangle it. There's the last chapter is about like letting go, and it's hard. It's not like I think this is the thing that kind of sucks and is also amazing about being a human, is you don't go through steps and then you're like, I'm fixed. I never have to go back, to therapy or anything. It's like, oh, I learned for me now. And then how do I keep learning for me tomorrow? And like, it's always we're constantly growing and changing. Amazing. But yeah, I think just being able to identify or at least see how it shows up for you would be, to me, like a huge win. Like give yourself like all the, because that's hard. That means you're acknowledging. And for me, that's the hard part, is like owning it up and being like, oh yeah, ugh, but true.
And how would you advise someone if they maybe aren't at that self-awareness stage of like, okay, this needs fixing, but they're kind of keep asking themselves in their brain, why do I keep doing this? Oh, I've done it again. Like, what is the first easy steps that someone can take to make them self-aware?
Two things, I think. Start journaling. You guys knew this was coming if you've been following me for any amount of time. Because so much goes on in our head that we don't even pay attention to. And unless you start jotting stuff down, and it doesn't have to be, first of all, if there's like nothing you take away from anything, take away this. When I did the Artist Way, the best thing for me was that she said, pretend when you're journaling, no one's going to read it back. It doesn't have to be spelled correctly. It doesn't have to be legible. As a left-hander, that was key. Can't even read it. Don't even know what I wrote. Doesn't matter. Just get it out. Just start putting words to paper. And I will tell you my journals. So you can just feel normal when you do this. My journals will be like, so today was really stressful because I was trying to get prepared for this thing I was doing with Harriet. And then I'll be like, oh my God, don't forget to get milk because you're out of milk. And then you have to make mac and cheese and then you won't have the milk. And it goes right back into other things. Like it's all over the place because that's how our brains are. So you don't have to write yourself a letter, dear diary, today. That's not, maybe when we're 16, we have all the time in the world and we think life's so stressful. But I think like journaling is going to be key, because if you don't even know where to start, that's always a great place. Because I will tell you that if you do try to read it back, and I can sometimes read some of my old journals, you do start to see patterns. And just the act of writing it, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I've asked myself this question before. Like, as a matter of fact, I did 6 months ago. No answer, So I think that's kind of where I would have people start. And if that's even hard, sometimes I used to tell my patients, I'm like, go to the feelings wheel, lovefeelingswheel.com, shout out, and pick a feeling and then just write about what you think that feeling would be like to experience. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but you might be surprised where your brain goes. We're like, wow, excitement. Oh my God. Yeah, that kind of feels like butterflies in the stomach. Oh my God, I remember that time when my friend got me this cake. And then you're journaling. Amazing. And so I think sometimes we have to like sneak it in.
And if anyone, tuning in or here is not, a writer, like they don't like to write or journal, would voice memos work for them too, versus jotting it down, like voice memos and then listening back to them if they're like fans of podcasts? Is that a way?
Voice memos are beautiful. I used to have patients who would make YouTube videos and send them to me, because you can make them private. Obviously make them private. But yeah, you can do anything that works for you. Like, however you can get it out, because I think so much of our life is, whether we realize it or not, is just like happening in our brains over and over. And there was this study, I think it was Stanford, but I might be misquoting, but essentially 93% of the thoughts we've had before. So we should probably be paying attention to those, because it's like most of my brain space is filled with thoughts, right? And so if I'm having them over and over and over, like, what are they telling me? And I think, however you can get that out. Also, just talking to someone, I think it's also helpful sometimes to ask people in your life, like if you don't even know where to start, if you have a really close partner, spouse, best friend, you can say like, hey, I feel like I do this or that. Like, do you notice I do this? Or, obviously to be like, be kind. I'm still learning. I don't know. And they can be a reflector for you too. Just depends on how, like, that sounds scary to me, but some people like that kind of feedback. And so you can ask for that.
And just make sure you trust the person.
Yes, that they are loving and you know that they have your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
The patterns show that, not just one thing, the patterns. Yes.
What do you think is one myth about healing or change that you really hope this book dismantles?
That it's a one and done. I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to books, or maybe it's just me being jaded, but I feel like a lot of, especially like self-help people online, I'm just using that to like cover a blanket of all sorts of people, is that like, oh, I have the magic cure for da-da-da-da. And we all want that. Like, please, if somebody has a magic cure, like, please pass it around, But I think in general, the book is not as prescriptive as my other books. If you've read Are You Okay and Traumatized, those are a little more structured. This does have, because my editor wanted them, shout out to Dan and then Diana, at the end of each chapter is like some reflective questions. It's just questions that I ask myself when journaling. But I think, this is just like a process, and it's something that we can keep coming back to, because you're never just finished. Like, it's not like, oh, and then, like I said, like you leave therapy, like, I'm never coming back. Woo. You know, yeah, you learn things, but I want people to know that like it doesn't happen like with a switch and it's not, oh, I did this and now I'm all fixed. It's more like this is a process and we're trying to be better tomorrow because, you know, I didn't like who I was yesterday and I didn't like that I'd said this way. Like, I think, you know, through my life, I'll look back like we do it in the middle of the night, like anxious thoughts. You're like, oh my God, why did I say that this way? Oh my God, why did you? Oh,
That
and
will
you're
be
like,
her tonight.
yes. I'll be like, why did I cry? That's so embarrassing. Jesus Christ, Katie, get it together. Like I do, you know, we all do those things and this will now be in my head. And, you know, you run those things. And I feel like we have to give ourselves a little compassion. Be like, hey, I'm just learning. I'm just trying to do better. And like, old me, be proud of me today. Yay, that's a win.
And I know that one thing that we talk about personally is that, you know, every human being is fluid. Like you constantly change and evolve. So if someone has this book in their bookshelf and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, a couple of years down the line, they're like, why do I keep doing this? Is it a book that you can just pick back up when you're struggling with something further down the line and, you know, you can start journaling and workbooking again? Like, how does that play into the healing process? Like, as you said, once you're healed, you're not, you know what I mean, fully healed, but like things can crop up again. Like, how do you handle that when you kind of come to that?
Yeah, the realization.
Yeah, the realization.
Yeah, I think you can always pick it up and pick up a chapter at a time. Like it's not written. I mean, some of the stories feed into each other where I'm like I said before, like this was how this was. But most of it's just, you could just pop in anytime and you could even go to the end of the chapters and be like, I want to redo these questions or I want to answer this piece. Yeah, I think you could pick it up at any point. Kind of like Are You Okay? If anybody read that book, it was similar in that form that like, it's not, you don't have to read, it's not like a story about like, it's not like a fiction book where you're like reading through someone's story. I think you can pick it up
and do a chapter,
a chapter at a time or just a chunk. Yeah.
And how do you hope this book will make people feel as they work through it? Like seen, challenged, comforted, maybe a bit of both, all of them?
Yeah, I think hopefully the like, oh, me too kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not too called out, just a little bit called out. I'm calling myself out. So there's that comfort.
And when you think about this book, because it has been so different from your other books to where, you know, you get really vulnerable. What are you most proud of about this book? And what do you hope that your, you know, fans and community will really take away and see in you that maybe they haven't before?
I think that I'm probably more like them than they maybe thought. You know, I think sometimes like therapists are put on a pedestal or like doctors, you know, we keep like people who have different degrees. We always think like, oh, they know better. No. And like, there's this old saying when I used to work in the hospital system, they're like, doctors make the worst patients. And I've always wondered, and I've asked my therapist over the years, I'm like, are therapists the worst? Like, and we probably are, because we know all the Jedi mind tricks and we're going to like make it really hard for you. And so I think I'm hopeful that people just at least are like, yeah, me too. That's kind of what I hope you think about it. Like, yeah, we all have a tough time. And I'm glad to know that like I'm a therapist and I still like don't know.
And then if readers take just one tiny step, whether it's they just read a chapter and they fill out the things at the end, if they take one change after finishing it, what do you hope that step is for them?
I think compassion, self-compassion, that like it's hard and we don't always know, and that's okay. You know, I think we're so hard on ourselves and we always like, especially now, we're so exposed to so many things. It's like we have to do all the things. Like I remember there's this meme, this is like eons ago, but it was like this woman and her hair was like totally disaster. And it said like me trying to drink 8 glasses of water, work out for 30 minutes, make sure that I've been fed, my kids have been fed, the beds are, you know, like all the shit that we do every day. You just like, you're barely hanging on. And I just, you know, I want people to feel like, you know, you're doing okay. Like as long, honestly, even just like doing anything to help yourself, watching a video, one of my videos, like the fact they're even here is like, you know, amazing. And I think we have to give ourselves a little bit of credit for all the stuff that we do all the time.
That's amazing. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, thanks for being here. Let's sign books and take pictures and things.
Yeah. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A.
Oh, yeah, questions
if
first.
anyone would like to ask Katie questions.
Yeah, don't be shy. Anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just a quick question. I'm thinking about my husband.
Uh-huh.
Who could use this? Is this mostly a woman book, like a book for women, or can men benefit from it as well?
Men can, that's a good question. Yes, it's written by a woman, so I would assume there's some things without realizing it, they're like woman coded, but it's not gender specific. There's nothing in there, because even in the dating things, it's just about relationships. There's nothing like women versus man. I think it would definitely be just as beneficial for him, as long as he's open to it. You know, it depends on what kind of man he is. Yeah. But yeah, I think he'll benefit just as much. Of course. Thanks for asking the first question. That's always the hardest. Anybody else?
I have one.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So
You had so many.
I know. So say someone's reading this and they just feel really overwhelmed with life.
Yeah.
And they're starting to feel overwhelmed or frustrated with the book, and they're just like, now I feel even worse about myself. What would you advise them to like take a break from it, maybe go chapter at a time? Like, what would your advice be for that type of reader?
I'd pause.
Okay.
If you feel overwhelmed, if like the first chapter, like, whoa, then like don't move forward. Like take your time. You can go back and read it again. Or maybe even like in the curiosity space of like, why is this so stressful? Or why is this so triggering? Because I think, you know, you have to meet yourself where you're at. And any self-help book or any kind of like, I got this book recently, all of you recommended on a live stream at Matt Hames' Midnight Library. Anybody? Holy shit, you guys, you gotta pick it up. But it was so great, but it was so much. I was like, oh my God. It's just a lot to digest. And I think it's okay to sometimes take breaks, and books are really heavy, or if they feel, because you're like, wow, this is a lot to think about. And just take that time. There's no rush. It's like I said, it's not like you have to, honestly, you can jump around and as wherever it feels comfortable for you. Yeah.
That's great.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Kind of when you're in the moment of something really stressful, when you're kind of thinking that question, why do I keep doing this? Kind of what do you do to kind of stop spiraling, kind of stop overthinking? That's kind of what I was struggled with, you know?
No, it's a
In
great
that moment,
question.
What do you kind of do?
I mean, there's a couple of things. So if it's at night, which is usually when it happens for me, I have to get up and I either shake out like a dog out of the bath. You guys know I love the body shake. It sounds so weird, but nervous system wise, it gives your body that outlet for all that anxious, like spiraling. Because our thoughts, do you ever feel like it's like those types of thoughts, like you already know the path. It's almost like a well-worn road. And you're like, I can go like 80 miles an hour on this road. And we like, go. And so I will get up and like shake, or I'll dunk my face in cold water. Or if it's during the day, call somebody. That like, well, if you can call somebody. I know sometimes people are like, I don't really have anybody. Then try the other two. But yeah, that is a tricky, and we all find ourselves there. But I really encourage you, if it's when you're lying in bed like it is for me, just stand up and shake out, stomp your feet, act like just reset.
Sort of movement.
Yeah, it helps release. It's like there's science to back. I'm not just wanting you all to be weirdos in your house in the middle of the night. It really gives a release for all that queued up energy. Because I don't know if you are like me, but like when I get in that kind of state, it's usually when I'm trying to fall asleep and I'm thinking of all the things I forgot to do or people I needed to, and it's just like you start like, why am I doing that? Why am I acting like this? Ooh, and like running myself through the thing I've already like shit on myself over and over, and I'll like get up and shake out. Sean can attest to this. Yeah, great question though. Hope that helps. Report back. Mm-hmm.
What made you want to move from your practice to YouTube?
I don't even know if I really wanted to. It kind of became, I couldn't manage it. I really got pushed. It's great because what I like to do is actually this more, and I'd like to speak more. That's kind of like a goal for next year. And back in, I want to say like 2018, 2017, I started to do more of this. And then it got really hard for me to keep regular sessions. And a lot of my patients at the time I saw twice a week, because eating disorder recovery can be touch and go and very stressful. And I just felt like I wasn't there for them. And as someone who consistency is like a big thing for me, I felt like that wasn't very ethical. I mean, it's questionable, and people could say like, you could still, it just didn't feel right. And I thought it was such a privilege to be able to reach more people anyways, and maybe I should take that opportunity. And I still keep my licenses active and could decide open up shop again. But yeah, it was slow too. It took me probably a year and a half, maybe even longer, to be honest, because as people graduated, where you're like, fly little one, call if you need something. I just didn't fill those slots. And so, and I even took somebody back again, and I'm like, what am I doing? But he needed it. And yeah. So it was until I decided. Alexa was actually there when we went out to dinner when I was like, I referred my last patient.
We're glad you did it.
Yeah. Well, thank God. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Was there something about this book, writing this book, that that you forgot about yourself, but it helped remind you, like, oh, this is something I already knew, but I forgot I needed this?
Yeah, no, great question. And yes, I think the first chapter, because when you're writing a book, you try to come up with examples for everything. And if I didn't have a personal one, I found one from the audience, but a lot of things I had to like scrape through my brain. There's even this one that my mom reminded me of. There's an example in here where I talk about like, I was able to do something when I was younger that like, I don't even know if adult me could do now. And I was like, wow, like 15-year-old Katie, like get it. But so yeah, it was like shocking in a lot of ways that because I was trying to reflect more than normal. I think that's why journaling is so powerful, and why I encourage people to do it all the time, is because this was almost like journaling, and it forced me to think of like examples of ways that I either did or didn't do something really well, especially like the people pleasing stuff. I was like, oh, there it is again in this other chapter, but it can't go in that chapter. So yeah, there were a lot of shockers. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but yeah, just, I think also just even like the blueprint stuff, like figuring out like how my family was. I had so many calls with like my brother and my mom, and they're like, that's not what happened. This is what happened. And I was like the baby. So I'm like, oh, yes, that makes sense. You know, because your perception is different than your siblings. So anyways, that was really interesting. But yeah, a ton of that. Mhm. Anybody else? Yeah.
Obviously, we're here tonight celebrating this book. But is there anything in the pipeline, anything coming up that you're excited about, or whether that's a book or another presentation or whatever that might be?
I mean, I want to do speaking stuff more, and I have a few of those booked in the new year, so I'm excited about that. But I think as far as, I mean, books and stuff, my next foray, I think I want to do children's books. I think that'd be real. I have an illustrator that I really like that I'm trying to woo. It's another lady, and she's lovely. But yeah, I think that's what I'd want to move into. But other than that, just regular YouTube content. I've been trying to make things more authentic. For those of you who follow closely, like the videos, I've been trying to get back to like what really lights me up. Because I think for a long time I was creating for somebody else, but that person like changes shape all the time. And so I was like, oh, I just have to get back to like, why did I do this? What is it I want to say? How do I want to say it? It's not gonna be perfect. People aren't gonna like everything, and that's okay, you know? So yeah, a lot of the same, but also some new stuff too. Yeah. Anybody else? Let's sign some books. Let's take some pictures.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
so
thank
much for
you.
being here. Thank you, Katie. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Harriet.
you.
Thank you for being so honest, so open, so vulnerable. And yeah, please, if you haven't bought a book yet and you'd like one, we have them at the front. And then I'm sure Katie would be happy to sign and taking photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.